Good morning to the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you all to the virtual sessions of the Career Guidance Program AVENIR 2023.
Ongoing event, AVENIR, initiated its proceeding on the 7th of December with Career Talk sessions at Indian School, Darsit.
The online Career Talk sessions are scheduled for today, 8th December, streaming from Indian School, Darsit, followed by the Career Expo at Alpha Lodge Hotel.
The valedictory function will be held at Indian School, Darsit on 9th December, followed by the Career Expo at Alpha Lodge Hotel.
We are delighted to extend a warm welcome to one and all for AVENIR 2023, a forerunner in career guidance event, which is meticulously organized by Indian School Darsit under the Aegis Esteemed Board of Directors, Indian Schools in Oman. This invaluable event is a beacon of knowledge, resources, and expert guidance carefully designed to illuminate the path toward future career choices. As we witness how education options are becoming increasingly intricate, making informed decisions about one's career journey is ever challenging. AVENIR 2023 seeks to address these challenges by offering a comprehensive platform filled with insights, information, and expert various university courses and services.
What's next? A question that we ponder upon as we embrace ourselves to explore a sea of options that lay ahead of us. It is a question that opens the avenues for a plethora of opportunities in specific fields. When we embark on this journey of finding our true interests and pursuing our goals, AVENIR steps in, guiding and inspiring students as they prepare for change, transition, growth, and realization of their aspirations.
Ms. Shagun Mehta, the speaker for the session, is here to give us a brand new perspective on new categories in the education field. A spark of an information has the ability to light up our future. Currently, she's working in the Documentation Review Services Department of the Risk and Financial Advisory Department of Deloitte US India team. Her internship experiences include being a part of a law team, JSA Delhi, in IndusInd Bank, Shipportons Law Office, and Parekh and Company. She also has handled numerous laws and civil arena researching the prominent laws under the Chamber of well-renowned advocates.
She has done a prestigious schooling in the Army Public School and has done her BBA LLB in the Army Law College, Pune. In addition, she has done a credit course of corporate law and taxation from Rajiv Gandhi National University of Law in Patiala. She has assisted the Shivaji Nagar District Court with facilitation of the National Lok Adalat recently. Her awards: Best Memorial Award for a Mood Proposition. She's the national level gold medalist in korfball and was shortlisted for university team in basketball at zonal level, Maharashtra. Let's listen to the expert talks where students and parents alike can equip themselves with insights shared so that they may make wise career decisions. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning. Thank you so much for such a warm and hearty welcome. I'm Shagun Mehta and I'm a lawyer by profession. That was a very nice introduction by the students. Thank you so much once again. I'm very thrilled to be taking this session forward, and as we embark on this journey of the world of cyber law. Today, we're going to be exploring a topic that deeply resonates with our modern lives and the fascinating realm of law intertwined with the cyberspace, which is the dynamic field of cyber law. So, ma'am, if you could please share the PPT that I have shared with you. Thank you so much. So, in this day and age of digital connectivity, our lives are increasingly intertwined with the cyberspace and the virtual world. right? From our online shopping to social media interactions to this very session, also for that matter, we're in a digital era that brings both opportunities as well as challenges. And today, I hope to unravel a few details of this very field, examining various factors and facets with a brief overview of cyber law. Now, naturally, before we dwell into the domain of cyber law particularly, let's have a look at what law is and the broad categories that law can be spread out into. If you could please switch to the next slide. So now let's ponder upon the fundamental question of what is law, right? I'd have loved to hear some responses and I would have loved for this to be an interactive session, but I understand that the participants probably have joined through the YouTube live stream and it gets a little tricky owing to the paucity of time. So I'm just going to read and skim through the slides. So what is law? Right? At its essence, law is a system of rules and regulations that govern a society. It provides a framework for resolving disputes, maintaining order, and safeguarding individuals. Law in its diverse forms is the backbone of any given civilized society. So essentially, law is a set of rules and regulations assembled in order to maintain structure and harmony in an ever changing social system. Right? Law is extremely dynamic in nature. Law cannot be static in nature at all. Because what law does is it provides for the society. And the society is what? The society is ever changing. So now, since the society is ever changing, the law has to adapt to the social fabric that the society asks as the need of the hour. So, what we as a society required 10 years ago or 20 years ago is naturally going to be very different in comparison to what we require today or 10 years down the line, even. So, effectively, if I were to sum it up, law is a scheme of rules and regulations codified through various legitimate and relevant authorities, which attempts to adapt to the ever changing social fabric. So, if you break it down into three parts, law is a scheme of rules and regulations codified through legitimate authorities and sources, attempts to adapt to the ever changing social fabric. Right, having said that, there's naturally lots of types of laws which I have enlisted as well. Please understand this is not an exhaustive list, because there are lots and lots and lots of subsets to this as well, and lots of niches which exist in law, but this is just for a broad structural understanding of the types of law, which is why I have enlisted it. Because if I were to try to list down all the types of laws, it would I wouldn't be able to do so. So firstly, we have criminal law, we have civil law, which, as the name suggests, deals with criminal, matters which deal with crimes and the criminal offenses. Civil laws deal with matters which are non-criminal in nature and are civil in nature, but could be, say, matrimonial laws or your intellectual property laws, owing to the specific facts and circumstances. Actually, matrimonial laws can also the particular matter. Next, we have constitutional law, which is the anvil of any given legal system. And as I like to call it, which is the guidebook, or even on a lighter note, the instruction manual for your laws, because all laws primarily ought to fall within the four walls of this constitution. Anything lying in contravention to this or transgressing this or beyond the constitution shall be null and void. Uh, then we have your administrative law, which focuses on the actions of the government and the authorities and the government agencies. Then you have your international law, naturally, which regulates the relations cross-border, right, internationally. So, ma'am, if you could please switch to the next slide. Yes. So today our spotlight is on cyber law, which is a very rapidly growing and evolving field, which of course intersects law and technology, right? Cyber law encompasses legal issues related to internet, digital communication, electronic commerce, and it plays a very crucial role in protecting individuals, businesses, nations in this day and age that we're currently in. Now, as we navigate the digital frontier, it's imperative to understand the significance of cyber law. So I'll just go through the slide, what the contents of the slide. So cyber law is the branch of law which deals with legal issues related to internet, technological and uh, electronic elements, communication technology, including computers, software, hardware, and information system. Internet is a network that connects billions of people to governments, private entities, businesses, schools, and etc. for their activities. And it's naturally growing rapidly. And as I said in the beginning of my talk, with opportunities come challenges. So there are naturally various unlawful activities which also happen, such as forgery of signatures on very important credentials, online betting, online banking frauds, pornography, hacking and credit card frauds, etc. So these are all certain threats and certain cyber crimes that we're facing in today's day and age. So if I were to really quickly enlist a few of those cyber crimes, such as fraud, trade secrets, copyright, we have harassment, defamation, and the list goes on and on. So I'm just going to really quickly, no, the previous slide, please. Thank you so much. So I'll just quickly run through these particular cyber crimes. So for instance, we have fraud, right? As the name suggests, I feel like everybody understands what fraud is. Cyber laws in today's day and age, initially, prior to, let's say, the advent of technology and so much of advancement, right? We were in a particular societal system wherein crimes had to be done in a very physically bound space or a geographically bound space. But with the inclusion or the advent of technology and the cyberspace, we don't have four walls to a crime taking place anymore. A person sitting in X country can criminally or commit a cyber crime against a person sitting in Y company. So we're not geographically bound anymore. So now when it comes to fraud, for instance, cyber laws help to protect the consumers from online frauds. It detects cybercrime like online theft, credit card theft, and other financial crimes which happen on the platform. If a person is caught doing any illegal activity, he may have to face civil action. Next is your trade secrets and copyrights. Before I dwell into the concept of trade secrets and copyrights, I would like to very briefly run through the concept of intellectual property rights. So, intellectual property right is a field of law which talks about intellectual property, right? You have your property of physical property, such as your houses or your physically tangible things, whereas intellectual property is stuff which is derived out of the mind. So, for instance, you have your uh, you said there's a friend of yours who makes music, right? That is a creative derivation or a creative thing that comes out of your friend's mind, right? And that is then it's protected under copyright, which is a form of intellectual property. Trade secrets, on the other hand, as the name suggests, is a secret of the trade, right? Now, trade being what? A business, for instance. Let's just take an example. You have a trade of, let's say, you're selling a drink, let's say lemonades, right? You have a very particular sort of lemonade that you're selling, and this lemonade has very special and unique ingredients. You have a very specific recipe that you've learned, let's say, from your mother or your grandmother or your grandfather, or anybody, right? And that is your selling point. But now you would naturally like to keep that a secret, right? As you'd like to keep that a secret of your trade. And in case if it goes out anywhere else, it's going to be very detrimental to your business because your competitors will then know your secret and there'll be nothing special about your business, right? So now when we talk about trade secrets, there's so much information that's present in the cyberspace, in your databases. Maybe you made a Word document about it, you don't know. So all of these things are also protected within the ambit of cyber law. So let's just run through trade secrets and copyrights now that I've been able to give a brief idea of what these two are. Companies doing their businesses rely upon cyber law to protect their trade secrets, right? For example, Apple spends a lot of time developing an application to provide a new type of function which is in the market to protect their trade secrets and the laws that need to be made accordingly. Naturally, now the amount of effort and time that has been put into the research and development of certain things, you would like to keep that a secret. But any sort of cyber crime would uh, obviously be detrimental or would cause a threat to your trade secret. Likewise, when it comes to copyright, nowadays the internet has made copyright violation way easier. Online systems made copyright violation as easy as clicking on a button to download any videos, pictures, movies, and sharing any file. Now, a lot of now, for instance, another sort of copyright cyber crime, so to say, would be your online streaming of certain movies or anime, or these all of these sites which provide you free streaming of all of these all of these copyright materials. These are also forms of cyber crimes. If you could please go to the next slide. Yes. Then you have a contract and employment law. Every time that you click on a button and you say that you agree, now everything has turned into an electronically uh, to an electronic space, right? So we have your e-contracts now, and every time that you click a button and you say that you agree to certain things, you will be bound by that. So now you have used cyber law. Obviously, certain agreements and as I mentioned, e-contracts, those are ways to go about things as well nowadays. And you have a digital signatures as well when you're signing certain contracts, or going about certain terms and conditions. So you will be bound as you'd be bound in an equal capacity as you would had you signed a normal contract. The e-contract is equally substantiable in the court of law, right? So now, of course, the way that we draft agreements and the way the court proceedings go forth may change as well. And one of the most common examples that we saw was during the pandemic, right? When the courts were constrained to work online and virtually because there were so many cases that had been piled up and you could not have halted the court proceedings at all. So there is a high possibility of things, the barrier breaking and things not being as traditional in nature, and all of these court proceedings also to follow suit and become virtual in nature. Next, we have defamation. Defamation is what? Defamation is basically defaming somebody, right? When you're spreading something malicious or blotting somebody's personality or character again in a public forum, which is, let's say, social media or on Instagram, on XYZ platforms, that is defamation. Harassment and stalking, sometimes online statements can violate the law that prohibit harassment and stalking. When somebody makes threatening statements about someone else online, they violate both criminal and civil law. So these all things that I just enlisted: copyrights, trade secrets, defamation, harassment and stalking, contract and employment law, all of these fall within the ambit of cyber law. Of course, this is not limited to this list that I have uh, spread out here. There are lots and lots of intricate details that come when you dwell into the field of cyber law. But this is just to name a few for an example and understanding. If you could please switch to the next slide. Okay, so importance of cyber law. So based on whatever I have been able to cover so far, I hope that I have been able to give a fair idea, if not a very detailed one, about what cyber law is. And so naturally we can deduce and derive the importance of cyber law. So I'll just read through the list which has been given or which has been displayed on the screen. So we're living in a highly digital world. Naturally, that's one of the first or the foremost thing about why cyber law is important. All companies depend on their computer networks and keeping their data in electronic form. So naturally, with the advent of with the change of storage of data into the electronic form, there's also a fear of this very data to be threatened, or for cyber criminals to take over this in various malicious manners, right? So that's another importance. Third is the government forms, including your income tax returns, company law firms, everything's now filled in electronic form, which is just an offset of the previous pointer. Next, we have Consumers are using cashless transactions for their businesses, shopping, etc., and that makes you a very huge target for frauds, which is again a cyber law related issue. People use emails, SMS, chats, etc. for communication. Okay, this point is important. Even in non-cyber crime related matters, important evidences are found in computers, cells, and mobile phones. Even if a matter which has been taken to the court of law, which is, let's say, criminal in nature, right? There's so much intermingling of the digital world in today's age that we need cyber law as evidence, because there might be some WhatsApp messages, there might be some Instagram messages, there might be some pictures shared, right? So even in non-cyber crime related matters, cyber law has a certain interplay. Cyber has a certain interplay, right, brother? Next, since it touches almost all aspects of transactions, activities concerned to the internet, it is therefore extremely important. That's our importance of cyber law. If you can please go to the next slide. The cyber law landscape. So now the cyber law can be defined as the legislation or the legality and practice of lawful, just, and ethical protocol involving the internet as well as alternate networking and information technology. It obviously applies to everything internet and internet related technologies. So now when we're talking about cyber law has evolved globally a lot, and it has naturally uh, become a field which is still in a very nascent phase globally, but we're still trying to go through this entire process, and it's important for the plot. So let's just run through all of these pointers. So, cyber law, beginning in the 1970s, countries started recognizing that there was a requirement and the need of the hour for certain legal frameworks to govern the cyberspace. So, naturally, international efforts such as the Budapest Convention aimed at harmonizing cybercrime laws, and they've obviously played a very pivotal role in fostering collaboration amongst nations. Now, the Budapest Convention was one of the first, or one of the very first international conventions pertaining to cybercrime. While all countries are naturally not bound by it or nor signatories to it, uh, we're still, it's very important for the purpose of knowing this convention for history and for how the chronology of events came about or unfurled. Right? In the Indian cyber law space, when we're talking about India, the Information IT Act 2000 laid the foundation for cyber law in India. And it was obviously a very crucial step in aligning legal norms with the digital landscape. In 2008, there was a further amendment which strengthened India's cyber law by introducing provisions on data protection, electronic signatures, and penalties, XYZ. So these are all uh, amendments which were brought about in the cyber law space in India, which is the IT Act of 2000. The Budapest Convention was that of 2001. There have been certain additions to the Budapest Convention. We'll deal with that in the next slide. The apex authority in India for cyber law is the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MEITY. Uh, I was I request you to please go back to the previous slide. Thank you. So it oversees and implements and enforces cyber regulations. The key aspects of Indian cyber law are offenses under the IT Act, such as hacking, identity theft, cyber terrorism, and the corresponding legal consequences, which are all codified under the IT Act to whatever extent it is right now. And naturally, now there are challenges and future trends. There are a plethora of challenges faced, and the need for continuous adaptation to emerging technologies is something that we're at today, and anticipating future needs and trends, like the emphasis on data protection, artificial intelligence, and the ongoing international cooperation to combat cyber threats. So there's a lot that's going on with respect to data protection as well. Uh, Now we have to strike a balance between protecting data and being able to also look over this particular space, right? So if you could go to the next slide real quick. The Budapest Convention. So the Budapest Convention was adopted in 2001, as I mentioned before, and it stands as a landmark in the international effort to combat cybercrime. Now, envisioned by the Council of Europe, this treaty promotes international cooperation by establishing common legal standards and facilitating the extradition of cyber criminals. Now, uh, extradition is required basically if in case a criminal is beyond the bounds of your nation. You have to have an extradition treaty with the other country in order to, let's say the uh, criminal has fled to another country. So the two countries need to have an extradition treaty in order for this cyber criminal to be sent back to the country so that the uh, court can take forward his matter. However, the Budapest Convention makes it a little easier, and it facilitates this very concept of extradition of cyber criminals. Just give me one moment. Yes. Uh, then we have it addresses a wide range of offenses, including illegal access, data interference, and system related crimes, fostering a unified approach to combating cyber threat. Recognizing the dynamic nature of cyber threats, the Budapest Convention has seen significant updates through additional protocols, as I mentioned before again. One noteworthy addendum is the protocol addressing hate crimes in cyberspace, another such as racism, XYZ. Another crucial addition is the protocol on enhanced cooperation, allowing non-member states and international organizations to accede to the convention as well, which I mentioned before that a lot of the countries are not signatories to it. However, this second addition on the it allows non-member states to accede to the convention as well. So I feel like that's a very positive approach and a very nice structure that has been given to this convention in order to promote a more harmonious system. Now, these addendums enhance the convention's relevance in rapidly evolving digital landscape, ensuring a comprehensive legal framework to tackle emerging cyber threats. So, in conclusion, the Budapest Convention, complemented by its additional protocols, and it remains to be a vital instrument in the global fight against cyberspace by fostering collaboration and adapting to new challenges. It stands as a testament to international community's commitment to creating a safer and a more secure digital environment. If you could please quickly move on to the next slide. Thank you. Now, the perpetual debate about between freedom of speech and expression and the surveillance over cyberspace. I mentioned this a while ago, but there's a continuous thrash out between freedom of speech and expression, which is enshrined on the Article 19(1)(a) of the Indian Constitution, and the surveillance over cyberspace. But because where do you strike that balance, right? Where does this entire balance carry forward? Now, newspapers have now turned to online news sources. So now we're fighting for our freedom of speech and expression, but your freedom of speech and expression also has to be subject to very relevant and reasonable restrictions, which is enshrined in the Article 19(2) of the Indian Constitution. Now, restrictions on this freedom of speech can be done under various heads, and uh, it has to be justified, or it can be brought about only if there's a threat to your sovereignty and integrity, if you have to promote friendly relations with the foreign nation, for maintaining public order, for morality purposes, for contempt of court, and defamation and incitement of an offense. So uh, these are all pointers wherein your restrictions can be put forward even beyond, or it rather overrides your freedom of speech and expression if any of these pointers are under threat. Now, having gone through all of this with respect to cyberspace, there's so many more intricate details that I would have loved to run through. However, owing to the paucity of time and giving due regard to it, I will not be able to do so. But I hope that this has been somewhat informative in terms of at least familiarizing you with the concept, if not been able to dwell too deep within it. And I think that's the next slide would be, uh, if you could please, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I think that's about it from me. And if there's anything that I can help with, or if I can uh, deal with respect to the Q&A
Thank you,
session, any
ma'am.
interactions. Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. We are indeed delighted to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for the valuable information. We have a few questions from our audience.
Ma'am, here comes the first question. How can students prepare themselves for a career in cyber law, including relevant certifications? Ma'am, I repeat, how can students prepare themselves for a career in cyber law, including relevant certifications?
Honestly, the entire ambit of, if you really are interested in the premise of cyber law, just read a lot. Don't ever let your curiosity stop with respect to any field for that matter. Read about the, because cyber law is such an increasing space, and it's ever growing, right? It's growing as we speak right now. There's so many different terminologies, technologies which come into picture. Try and read more about that. Try and read more about its implications. Try and analyze its implications. I feel like that should give you a good head start into the field of cyber law. Try and read research papers of people, read case studies, case laws, and there's lots and lots and lots of online certifications which are available, which will definitely help you build that foundation to cyber law, particularly. And I feel if you go through all of this and do so consistently and in a very passionate manner, there's nothing stopping you from being one of the top people in cyber law.
Thank you, ma'am. Valuable input.
Ma'am, here comes your second question. What are the emerging challenges and opportunities in the field of cyber law? I repeat your question. What are the emerging challenges and opportunities in the field of cyber law?
Okay, that's actually a very interesting question, because the list for your opportunities and challenges can be, it can go on and on. However, now that's the thing. If you, let's say, I'm just going a little off topic here, but if you talk to any business person, right? They see challenges as opportunities. So your challenges here with respect to the cyberspace are going to be your opportunities as well, if you see it in a certain manner. But to be more specific to answer that question, now your challenges would naturally be the fact that it's a very newly emerging space. There's a lot of things which are continuously happening, and there's so many updates on a day-to-day life that you don't know what is happening, and perhaps the legal framework is not as well equipped yet to deal or tackle all of these issues, which is increasing by the day. But that now brings me to the opportunity aspect of it. For all the newcomers, or for all the young minds who are interested in the cyberspace, please understand that the cyberspace is as new as cyberspace is to you. Cyberspace would be almost equally as new to the professionals who have been in this field as well, because cyberspace is still emerging. So everything that you learn today with respect to cyberspace, or anything that's new today, no matter how long I've been in the profession, no matter how long I've been a lawyer, even I am learning that for the first time. So that is your opportunity with respect to the cyberspace and cyber laws. So I hope I've been able to
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
answer that.
Ma'am, here comes the next question. What are the immediate measures one needs when a cyber security breach or incident which is detected from both a technical and legal perspective? I
So
repeat,
could you please repeat? Yeah.
what are the immediate measures one needs to take when a cyber security breach or incident is detected from both a technical and legal perspective?
So with respect to the technical standpoint, I don't really think I would be the right person to answer that question, because that's not my forte. I'm not a tech person. I'm more inclined towards the legal side of things. But for any particular breach of information, of course, the first thing and the most important thing, let's say in an arrangement wherein you are based out of an organization, right? Let's take that example. If I am an employee of the organization, my first step would naturally be to inform my immediate senior, because all of these personal informations which may be breached, may be part of the business, or maybe part of any other database which is imperative for the business to continue XYZ, that needs to be informed to the authorities. And now again, now these are two separate standpoints. If I'm looking from the perspective of whose data has been breached, or am I looking from the perspective of who is breaching the data, or who's aware of the data, that becomes two very separate things to deal with. Again, now depending on the size and the entire ambit of the breach, the business will have to probably notify certain relevant authorities of your relevant local bodies, if there are any present, because it varies from country to country, or your state relevant authorities. And these are your basic mannerisms in which you go about it. To start off with, the details of it and the intricacies of it will really depend on a case-to-case basis. There's no straitjacket formula to how you deal with a security breach. It's very peculiar to the peculiar facts and circumstances of any matter.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there's one more question.
Okay.
What role does cyber law play in safeguarding individuals and organizations in the digital space? I'll repeat the question. What role does cyber law play in safeguarding individuals and organizations in the digital space?
Okay, so I'm just going to be repeating one of the slides, or two of the slides rather, which I talked about formally. So when we're talking about individuals or organizations, right? Let's say if we're talking about how does cyber law protect certain individuals, there's statutes in picture, there's protocols in picture, there are various other rules and regulations in picture which may protect a person from, say, fraud, right? Because there are remedies available for anything like this. Of course, there's an entire investigative procedure and other protocols that need to be dealt with in the rightful manner. However, so when there's a fraud or there's an issue with if there's a threat to a person with respect to fraud, then cyber laws can protect that. Again, based on the nation where you're based out of, it's going to really depend. The laws are going to be varying. And when it comes to your businesses, again, as I mentioned, the trade secrets part of it or the copyright part of it, let's say there's a huge business, a huge food chain, which has a very particular peculiar ingredient or a peculiar recipe to things. If you start to The cyber criminals can find their ways around things, and if they actually choose to uh, breach their database or find out their uh, particular recipe for their ulterior motives in the business space, that's always something that can be done. And this is what cyber law is for. It's to protect the businesses against such breaches, against such injuries to the business or goodwill, even because it also affects and impacts the goodwill of a business. The moment that there's a breach, the moment it's out in the open to the public, the goodwill of the company is breached as well, because it's a huge issue when it comes to the fact that important pieces of information, secure pieces of information, administered pieces of information from a company are being breached, or these secrets are being taken out by the cyber criminals. So that's what cyber law primarily is here to protect with respect to individuals and organizations separately. And of course, then there are particular statutes in order. You have the IT Act in India, you have other conventions, the Budapest Convention to the countries wherever are signatories to it. The Budapest Convention will be applicable. And of course, every country has its own law which is applicable for certain peculiar matters. And that's about it. I hope I've been able to answer the question.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for the constructive views and information that you shared with us. We are sure
you.
that the students and parents would have had a fulfilling and an enriching session. Hope you had a fruitful time Thank you for your cooperation. This is Pradyun and Ashlyn signing off on behalf of Indian School Dasid for AVENIR 2023.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.